Oh yeah, if presenters could repeat the question, having a microphone really helps with sound. All right, if I could invite you all to come up, and then we'll do a round of questions. I'm going to pass the microphone to them, and yes. Okay.
Okay, so I was asked to explain the narrative inquiry method that I used. And so narrative inquiry, I was really interested by critical race theory and the use of counter storytelling. And so I wanted to bring together nurses to share their story so they could identify that they weren't the only ones that were alone in this, and to get this out there. Not many people are aware of this situation, even though they experience it. And so I decided to go with narrative inquiry so they could free write what it was that they wanted to say, what it was that how they wanted to respond. And they could take as much time or as little time, as many words or as little words as they wanted to express themselves. Each participant was given 6 specific prompts, asking them about what situation led to you feeling moral distress, what about it was distressing, and then a few other questions. So they were provided with prompts, but then they were given the ability to free write their emotions. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, so she asked, like, once hate speech is found in the text, like, what happens after? I think it really depends on the application, like, who's using this. You know, let's say it's like Twitter, right, who has this model and wants to detect hate speech. They can either, you know, flag it, make sure, you know, that content gets taken down or something, or if there's some other company or application who's looking to see if there's cyberbullying, you know, that kind of thing, they can flag it, you know, let someone or something know that it's there, and then someone else can take action from there. It kind of depends, you know, on the application, but yeah, does that answer your question? Okay.
So she asked what I want to dive more into related to mental illness. And I have to be honest, I'm a first year. I don't fully know yet. I'm just very passionate about mental illness. But I would like to do more case studies and research of my own in the future. Thank you.
So that freaky website book, I think absolutely loved it when I read it. And one of the big takeaways is that, you know, definitions of mental illness can be reinforcing. And I was wondering, that sort of connects to your topic as well, where people in the family can reinforce mental illness and kind of have these things play out in the world.
So she was asking if she believes that the definitions of mental illness can reinforce the mental illness and kind of bring on more stigma. Is that what you're saying? Or? Okay. I would believe so. I do believe so. I think that the United States, the way we pathologize mental illness is problematic. Yes.
Since I'm close to the front, I'll grab the mic. My question is for Chris. I'm wondering what we can do to advocate for our privacy as our data is used, things that we can look out for as users of technology, and steps we can take if we notice something that's troubling or problematic to advocate for a more private or a better data policy world.
Yeah, so as individuals, there are a number of things that we can do. one of the biggest things we can do if we want to get policy enacted is that we can write to our senators and our representatives in government. There are also numerous consumer groups that advocate for users that offer a bunch of resources online, as well as, since they're consumer-based groups, you as a user or a customer or an individual can join up and do public outreach. And I think one of the most important things we can do is education. I think a lot of people are not really aware of the processes that happen, so advocating for even just like outreach in local communities that teach people how their information is collected, who can collect it, how it can be used. Also, one of the most important things you can do whenever you go to a platform is look at their privacy policy. They're required by law to tell you how they collect their information and what they're going to use it for. And if you don't agree with that, boycotting is very effective. Yeah. I can go first. One of the challenges that I faced while doing this research is that there is not a specific data policy here in the United States. What the FTC pulls from is actually policies established for like institutions like banking and insurance, which I think is where the economic emphasis comes from. So a lot of what I had to research into was trying to find these policies that aren't necessarily specifically for my subject, but are being related to and referred to, which has taken quite a bit of time, as well as when talking to people, finding a way to speak about it that isn't very jargony. Yeah, it's probably the hardest part for me.
The most difficult part for me was the math, just understanding how it all works. It seems kind of like magic, still kind of seems like magic to me how it all works. But besides that, I mean, most of our work was done with, you know, how do we do this privately? Like, how do we do the math? How do we get it faster? So we, you know, tried different things to get our implementation faster. We had lots of runtime tests we had to do over and over again. It was just really time intensive. For the whole group who was working on this as well, but yeah.
I think that's a great question, actually, because I had a lot of issues. But the biggest one that I had is when you start going down this rabbit hole of how to answer this question, you feel like you kind of already know the answer, or you know, it's very similar, like what you think you want to get out of it. And the further you go down and the more evidence you get and everything that you need to support it, somewhere along the way, you almost lose your voice a little bit because you have to write scholarly and you don't get to say the I and the feel. And I just want to say this and shout this, but I can't say it yet until you get to the discussion. And you can't get to the discussion section until you've done everything else. And so for me, it was finding my voice again. So if anyone is starting on this endeavor, write down your thoughts, hide it. Gather your scholarly, hide it somewhere. Gather your lit reviews, your scholarly data, whatever it is that you're gathering, write it up, and then go back to what were your original thoughts and how did that change? And that's where your discussion lies. And then you still have yourself in that. And so that would be a recommendation. There you go. No. I think after going through it, but again, you don't understand until you've gone through it, right? And then you can go back on the other side. Some of the timing of some of the courses, I could see maybe when in the winter, there's a methods class that's offered, yet we don't know methods yet. We haven't figured out our methods yet. And so maybe timing and restructuring, I hope that it still stays true to the social justice component, because that was very eye-opening for me. And I hope that that still stays true going forward. And to really honor that a lot of the education isn't found in the textbooks, but it's honored in the students that are chosen to be in that program and that continued to be successful, or that continued to be in that program. And so that is what I really appreciated about that, and I hope that it can continue forward with that. Did that answer your question? Okay.
We've got time for one or two more questions, and then there'll be time to stretch your legs, restrooms, and so on. So if there are any last questions?
What made you all want to do a TED Talk? Stand by there and tell us that. That's what made you interested in it.
I just want to build my public speaking skills. I love public speaking, and I'm passionate about mental illness, so this was just an opportunity to build the skills for me.
I needed the practice and to put something on my resume.
I actually didn't even hear about this until my professor told me about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm terrified of speaking in front of people. So that they said it would be good practice, and I was really interested in the research we were doing, so I wanted to share that.
I feel like I'm copying everyone now, but further practice, because I don't feel like I'm very good at public speaking, and the only way to get better at something is to actually do it. But also, my topic isn't really anything that gets talked about very frequently here, and if no one else is going to do it, I guess I can. So.
I think you all did better than just practice. I think I'd love a round of applause for these very amazing students.